What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So we're back again for a season preview. We're going to be going over the Chicago Bears, take a look at the roster, at their schedule. I'll give you my projected starters as well as my projection for how they're going to do this year. And yeah, Mitch Strabinsky, right? Before we get into that, because there's a lot to talk about there. Go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. Go ahead, share it if you like. Really helps the channel out a ton, and it would make me happy if you would do that. Season previews going on all throughout the month. At the end of this series, we're going to do a mock draft based on my projected stand-ins, and then there will be videos sprinkled in throughout this. So you're going to be getting a video a day, at least one video a day, maybe sometimes two, but yes, let's do it. Let's take a gander at this roster. Woof. So, here, actually, let me make this a little bigger. Yeah, I like that a lot better. There we go. Look at that. Some editing on screen. There we go. But this team, I think, has great. They're pretty, I don't want to say great, they're pretty solid receiver. I love Allen Robinson, Cordell Patterson, he's a very good gimmick player. Teddy Ginn Jr., he extends the field. That's what he is. He's a vertical threat. Anthony Miller, I think he's going to see a lot more time this year. I know he saw some good amount of snaps last season, but I don't think he'll just be used in the slot. I think if they go like two wide receiver, two tight end sets, that he will be that other outside receiver. Honestly, Riley Ridley, he might make the jump. He looked pretty good at the end of the year. Javon Wims, he had his moments. I like the addition of Darnell Mooney, but he's kind of maybe, I think he might fill in better as a slot / gimmick gadget player. If you're familiar with any of my draft content, my comp for him is a value brand KJ Kammler, a tremendous playmaker with the ball in his hands. He just doesn't have very good ball skills. He had a lot of drops there at Tulane. So, a little insight right there for you. But Allen Robinson, he's a monster. The team's very good. I mean, Jimmy Graham, say what you may, he's still one of the better tight ends in the league, even though he's lost a few steps. But Cole Kmet, I wasn't too big on the pick. I thought it was kind of a I thought they could have got more value at that part or with their first pick, but it is what it is. He's a good player. He's a solid all-around tight end, and I think he's a perfect complement for Jimmy Graham. So I expect a lot of two tight end sets. I think that's what I've read a lot, that they're going to be running a lot more two tight end sets. So that's probably why they had like 10 tight ends on the roster at one point. But David Montgomery, he's going to take a step forward. Maybe. Hopefully. This guy, he's really good. It was his rookie year. Don't sleep on him. When he came out, he had one of the best broken to missed tackle rates of any running back. He is a good running back. They just need to feed him the ball. The offensive line needs to play a little bit better. We'll get to that in a minute. You got your kind of like your, I don't want to say gadget, your satellite player. I don't know. Tariq Cohen, guy can play in the slot. He's kind of like the James White for this offense. And then outside of Whitehair and Daniels, this offensive line worries me. It gives me stress, or at least it should give whoever the quarterback their stress. Nick Foles, because you got Coward, who came in to fill in for Kyle Long, who is now retired. He didn't play particularly well last year. Bobby Massey, Charles Leno, they actually had pretty down years too, on top of injuries. So I mean, if anyone's gonna bounce back, I think Charles Leno will. But I mean, even on the interior, they got Infetti from Seattle, which he's not particularly he's average at best. So the offensive line will be something to monitor here, especially in a very scary looking, when you have to face the Vikings and the Packers, their defensive fronts twice a year. That's scary. It could be downright criminal what happens. Now, getting to the quarterback position, Mitch Strabinsky, he is not good. He might end up being the starter at the beginning of the year. He's not going to be the starter throughout the rest of the season. He's just not. You've had your Mitch mania. It's over. It's over. He led the league last season in forced sacks, which basically sacks he kind of forced on himself. There we go. But Nick Foles, like, the dude's, he's a solid quarterback. He's going to be a good bridge quarterback to whoever the next quarterback is. He'll be able, I think, to run this offense efficiently and effectively the way Mitch Trubisky could. I know Mitch Trubisky, he's had some highs, but the lows are really low. He just doesn't have it. He's not a particularly accurate quarterback. There's a reason why they didn't dish out that 5th-year option on him. So, yeah. Ta. But go to the defense. I'm done being sad. Mitch Trubisky makes me sad. I was really rooting hard for Mitch. Who knows, man? Maybe he comes out and has a banger of a year. But that's not likely the case. So when we're looking at the defense, what worries me initially off the bat is depth. This team does not have depth. Let's start in the secondary, because I don't think there's not much depth at all in the secondary. I mean, you're likely, you got Eddie Jackson at one corner spot. Deion Bush, he ain't going to be a starter. He's a special teamer. It's most likely going to be Tashawn Gibson. He was actually pretty solid down the stretch for the Texans last season. But, okay, little depth. Corner position. Yeah, Duke Shelley, who played okay, but he's not a number 2, number 3 corner. He's a depth piece at best. But then you got Xavier Crawford, who they picked up last year from Central Florida. Kendall Vildor, who they picked up from Georgia Southern. That's not great. I mean, if Artie Burns ends up being the starter there across from Kyle Fuller, that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. Like, Jalen Johnson needs to win. He needs to win this. He needs to win the corner 2 position. If not for the Bears fans, I mean, for my sake at least, because I love Jalen Johnson. He is a monster. That was a great pick. Looking at the linebacker, not a lot of depth. Almost no depth. Danny Trevathan and Raekwon Smith, they both missed some time last year. On top of that, they both didn't particularly play that great last year either. Honestly, they were outplayed by Pierre Lewis and Nick Kwiatkowski. So they were outplayed by those guys. Those guys are gone. There's no depth behind any of them if they go down or if they're not playing well. So that kind of worries me. The defensive front looks a lot better, though, from that standpoint. You got Akeem Hicks, who's phenomenal. Eddie Goldman, he's solid. He's okay. He's an average nose tackle. Nichols, he's actually one of the more underrated players in all the league. Brent Urban returns. I love the addition of Travis Gibson, but he's kind of a project at this point. He'll be a good run stopper, though, right off the bat. They spent a lot of money on Robert Quinn. So, and Robert Quinn, this is the thing, man. I think he plays better with his hand in the dirt. So I really hope they kind of give him that look rather than as a stand-up edge rusher. They got Mingo there. Of course, they have Khalil Mack. So they have some star. They have a star there on the defensive. But no, you could throw Eddie Jackson in there. Eddie Jackson's pretty good. He had to do a lot last season. He was really, really really in a bad position. But I mean, this defense, it's good enough, but it really will depend how efficient the offense can be. And honestly, I think it can only be that way if Nick Foles is the one at quarterback. Like I said, this guy's a bridge quarterback. Neither of these guys are your quarterbacks of the future. Just saying, let's go ahead. Let's take a gander at the schedule. And for the most part, I mean, the NFC North isn't particularly... It's a pretty tough division. I know Minnesota, their secondary looks gutted, but that offense was pretty efficient. Kirk Cousins, he was actually, I think he had the best quarterback rating in the fourth quarter of all quarterbacks last season. So don't sleep on that offense. That offense is still particularly good, even minus Stephon Diggs. So I won't sleep on the offense too much there. Green Bay, they're still good. I know they did nothing through the draft, but they're still good. And then Detroit, really hit or miss. Detroit's better early in the season, so that's going to be a tough first game for the Bears. On top of that, though, they got to face the NFC South. NFC South is full of very good teams. The Buccaneers, the Saints. Don't sleep on the Falcons. It was a down year last year. That offense is still, it can fire it on all cylinders. Remember, they had a win in San Fran. Just saying. With Matt Ryan still at the helm, that's still a very good team. Don't know what to expect from Carolina, so But then they got the AFC South. So you got the Colts, who they invested into this season wholeheartedly. They're like, hey, we need to win this year. So we're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to make a run with Phillip Rivers. And you might be laughing, be like, oh, Phillip Rivers, Mr. Back-to-back, 3 interceptions, cost me my fantasy football playoff hope. Phillip Rivers? Yeah, that Phillip Rivers. Your quarterback was Mitch Trubisky. You don't have a leg to stand on. Calm down, Bears fans. But I still think that's a winnable game. I don't think the Colts, while yes, they got better as a team last year, mainly just because of the quarterback position. I don't know. It's really tough. The Bears are a really tough team to project because even when Nick Foles at quarterback, it's not like he was particularly good last year, but I think he's kind of in a better situation in terms of playmakers and the offensive line, maybe not so much. But then, yes, you got the Titans. You have the Texans. And I know Texans, they had a terrible offseason, but that offense is still really good. It's like, oh, they got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, but they brought in Brandon Cooks. I'm not saying that's the same thing. I'm saying they still have talent at wide receiver. Sean Watson's still a good quarterback. And you got the Jaguars, which, I mean, it's Uncle Rico, dude. It's Minshew Mania. Nah, that's probably a win. Who am I kidding? But luckily you get games against you get a game against the Giants there, and on top of that with the Rams. For me, I think this bye week is pretty clutch for the Bears because this is a tough early schedule. Like, this back half is so much easier than the beginning, because going to Atlanta, then you got the Colts, the Buccaneers, and then maybe, depending on, well, again, we don't know what to really expect from Carolina, might be a pretty easy game there, but then you go right into the Rams, the Saints, the Titans, the Vikings. That's a tough 4-game slate. Straight up, that is a tough 8 games. That's tough 9 games to start the year. Oh, 10. I mean, you could maybe chuck the Giants and the Panthers, but still, that's tough sledding. I think the bye week's pretty clutch because you finish off with Minnesota, and then you get to go to Green Bay, having a week of rest, and hopefully still in the division hunt. However, I still think, like I said, I expect Nick Foles to be a bridge quarterback. let's just go ahead and get into the projections, because I feel like I'm kind of leading into that. With my starter is Nick Foles, then David Montgomery, Allen Robinson. I already said at the beginning of the video that Anthony Miller, I expect when he's not lined up in the slot, he will be the other outside receiver. I expect him to get a lot of reps this year, or a lot of snaps. Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham, like I said, they expect, or from everything I'm reading, they're anticipated to run a 2 tight end system. Then you got Leno, you got Daniels, you got Whitehair. I put Coward there right now for right guard, honestly, if Fetty could come in. So that one's kind of up in the air for me. Then Bobby Massey onto the defense, and I got them rolling with Hicks and Nichols and not Goldman, just because Nichols, well, you know Hicks is going to be on the field, but I also expect, let me preface this with, a majority of teams ran nickel or sub packages last season predominantly. So that's why I went with this type of style of starters. So, and with the money they invested in Robert Quinn, you best believe he's going to be on the field a lot. So there ain't no way he's coming off the field. So him and Mac will be there. And if I had to pick between Goldman and Nichols, Nichols was only outsnapped by Goldman because he missed the final, or he missed 3 games last season. And on top of that, Nichols actually played better. And then we got Raekwon Smith. We got Danny Trevathan. I got Kyle Fuller there as your number 1 corner. Jalen Johnson, he has to win that number 2 corner position. It can't be Artie Burns. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I knew what Artie Burns was going to be coming out. Oh yeah, he's super athletic, but can he play corner? He can't. Or at least he shouldn't be a starter. And then I got Buster Skrine as your slot. Eddie Jackson and then Sean Gibson, just the reliable journeyman. He played particularly well at the end of the year for Houston. I think that this puts them in the best opportunity to actually win games. But I don't have them winning too many games. I actually have them as a, let me see what I put here, 6-10. Honestly, this team could be 8-8. I feel like 6-10's a bit safer of a projection, and I know a lot of Bears fans are gonna hate that, but again, I think this is kind of a bridge year, at least, or transition year until they get their actual franchise quarterback, because it's not, in my opinion, it's not going to be Nick Foles. I know there's a lot of people that love Nick Foles. I love Nick Foles, but he's a great backup. But that's it for the video. Go ahead to the YouTube thing. That's always much appreciated, much obliged. And as always, till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.